Hello, my name is Marcos Sorzano. Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Marcos Sorzano, and this is my final presentation on alcohol. And okay, so what is alcohol? Alcohol is a drug, and specifically, it's a central nervous system drug. Depressant. I'm so sorry. It's a central nervous system depressant, and depressants are drugs that slow or depress brain activity, which causes muscles to relax. It calms and soothes the body of the person, right? And alcohol is the most commonly consumed drug in the world. And the four most common depressants are alcohol, benzodiazepines, opioids, and sleeping pills. So sleeping pills, more what we would normally know as melatonin, and that is because it helps you sleep by relaxing your body and allowing you to fall asleep, like shut down. Obviously not all the way down, but enough so you can fall asleep. So depressants reduce arousal and stimulation. And like what is meant by this is like let's say for example the pain tolerance and like pain threshold, it kind of like raises the threshold. So you need higher pain levels to be able to register and like so you feel stimulated because depressants reduce the stimulation. So you would need higher levels of pain to be able to like register it. And for like an example, let's talk about this is like let's say you go out drinking and you're pretty drunk and you fall and you hurt your leg, your knee, for example. You probably won't feel it as much because you were drunk and your body's kind of relaxed state. So you probably ignore it and you probably think it's not a big deal. But then let's say the next morning you wake up with horrible pain in your knee, and that's just your body being sober and like being back up running how it should not run normally run. So your stimulation and arousal levels are back to normal, and the pain is just there. And that's because like the last night when you were drunk and you got hurt, your stimulation was lower, and it just didn't register as much as it should have. And depressants also cause body and muscles to relax, and so this is just that's the whole thing with depressants. It like allows you to relax, but it can also be dangerous because taken in high doses and qualities. So for like depressants, benzos, alcohol, opioids, and sleeping pills, if you take too many, it can be dangerous for your whole body to relax too much. So like if your muscles relax too much, you could have heart failure. You stop breathing because you're like your muscles aren't doing what they're supposed to do because they're too relaxed. So that's why overdosing on these depressants is very dangerous. And it's like worst case scenario that it happens, it can lead to death. They also affect concentration and coordination. So alcohol affects the brain and like it affects your balance and coordination. So if you just see like media, movies, and shows of cops pulling over somebody under the suspicion of that they're driving under the influence, you'll see that the cop makes them do a sobriety test where like they walk in a straight line, heel to toe, for like a couple steps. And that's just to determine whether the person is under the influence, because if they are, they probably can't stay still or like upright. So they'll probably be wobbling a lot and like they'll have horrible balance. And I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that if you do have horrible balance, you're under the influence, but it is like a indicator of it. Um, and finally, it slows down messages between the brain and the body. So the neurotransmitters that send messages out to the motor neurons and stuff, it'll be slowed down. And I also want to talk about the example I said earlier, where if you are drunk, I don't know if you've seen movies where like they get into a bar fight and the person that was drinking kind of like takes punches. And like it's not always necessarily because he just wants to take the punches or something, but it's most likely because the body is too slow to react to them that he can't move out of the way. Added that with the higher pain tolerance, he'll probably just take the punch and like act like nothing happened. But like the next morning he'll definitely feel it. But so yeah, so because your reaction time is slower due to the slowed down messages between the brain and the body, your body won't be able to move as quickly as it should or as it normally does. And the organs that are affected by alcohol, so the brain, like all these organs are pretty major organs, and the brain specifically the center of the hypothalamus, which controls the water conservation hormone. or the ADH, antidiuretic hormone. And it is affected by it because it lowers the ADH in your system, the hormone. And what this does is it increases the urine volume. And so if you have drank before, or like if you accustomed to drinking, you know that you have to go to the restroom a lot. Like you get the need to go pee a lot. And that's because the brain's being affected by alcohol and ADH levels are lowering. So you kind of have to go to the restroom a couple times. It affects the cerebellum, like I mentioned earlier, with the coordination and the balance. So the cerebellum is in charge of that. It oversees the balance, movement, and coordination of the body. And under the influence of alcohol and depressants, it does become weaker. Your balance, you like begin swaying left and right. You can't stand upright. The liver is also affected. It's probably one of the biggest ones that people can identify. And it's because liver is in charge of filtering and like detoxifying your body. Alcohol being a toxic substance passes through the filter and is filtered by the liver. But every time it passes through the liver, every time it's filtered by the liver, it kills off liver cells. And while the liver is resilient and can regenerate, over a long period of time of drinking, the liver will eventually stop regenerating, and this leads to liver failure and like liver diseases down the line. The heart is also affected by heavy drinking and can weaken heart muscles. So like I said earlier, with depressants and overdosing, it can be very dangerous to overdose on depressants like such as alcohol, as it weakens the muscles around central organs like the heart and lungs, causing you to have heart failure, like strokes, or just cardiovascular failure, where you can't breathe no more, and that's because of the weakened muscles. And just a quick history, this is from the textbook, but alcohol has been around since the beginning of recorded history, and it's made through a process called fermentation and requires sugar, water, yeast, and warm temperatures. Yeast is actually where we get the ethyl, which is a component of alcohol, like ethanol. It comes from yeast. Fermentation is a natural process that happens in ripe fruit, berries, and even honey. So in the wild, animals would eat the fruit and berries, such as elephants, and they have been observed to be clashing into each other or wobbling left and right because they are under the influence of it. And bees who eat honey that's already fermentized, I believe it's called mead or med, and they have been observed to also like fly into objects and crash, which kind of sounds funny, honestly. Alcohol is produced by a microscopic organism, one of the yeasts that break down sugar by a metabolic form of combustion, which reduces carbon dioxide, creating the foam in a glass of beer. So it's just like carbonized drinks where you have the fizzling and the foam, and that's just what that is. So who are at risk of like developing alcohol behavior, right? Like dependence. And so men in early adulthood, and these aren't all the only targets, but these are just some that I want to focus on. And men in early adulthood are at risk of developing like alcohol dependence because many men don't have a support network to help them get through problems regarding depression, anxiety, stress, and they just don't have an outlet to let out these emotions. So, what a lot of men do is they turn to drinking to be able to like relax themselves and feel better. So they depend on drinking to get through like hard times, and that increases the risk of them developing um, really hard core dependencies on alcohol, leading to alcohol abuse. College students is a big one as well. After high school, what happens into college? There's a lot of drinking going on, a lot of parties. It's not uncommon to hear of people developing alcohol dependency as soon as they enter college because they've been introduced to this new world, or it's just pretty common and almost encouraged to drink. Low income background people, so if you come from low income background, you may be at a higher risk of developing alcohol dependency as well. And this is due to the environment you grew up in. A poor environment has harsher, it means a harsher environment. You have harsher, well, quantity, I'm sorry. Yeah, so your environment is harsher And this just causes more factors like anxiety, depression, stress to build up, and something that's not your fault necessarily, but it's just the environment you grew up kind of like shaped you into this, and that kind of increases your risk of depending on alcohol later on in life. Those with family history of drinking problems also is also another big one. So if somebody in your family already has like alcohol problems, you can develop similar behaviors just because of the exposure you have to it. And so you're already being around it kind of like increases the risk of you also developing similar behaviors. And I just included this statistic here of alcohol use in the US. In 2021, 84% of people ages 18 and older reported that they drank alcohol at some point in their lifetime. And I just included it because it's honestly such a big number of people that actually have drank alcohol. Meaning only about 16% have not drank, and it's pretty mind blowing to think about. So the reasons for drinking, I did kind of like mention some of these earlier already, but you know, just kind of want to bring them back again. And many people drink to enhance pleasure, excitement, or enhance mood. This one and the second one of social gatherings or for fun go hand in hand. So like in social gatherings, you kind of drinking to have fun, to increase the pleasure, right? The sense of euphoria. And even before attending these gatherings, you may drink uh, as pregame to set yourself in the mood for partying, which is pretty common as well. So there's also drinking for relaxation after a long time or like long day. And this is mostly just like to wind back, relax. You had a long day, you want to get home, you want to relax on the couch and drink and have a good time, or just spend the rest of your night quietly. That's also pretty common in like middle age and even early adulthood. I feel like escapism is a very dangerous one because people who drink to escape harsh situations or unfavorable situations are at like really high risk of just depending on alcohol all the time. If you're escaping reality by drinking all the time, it's just you're exposing yourself to this alcohol repeatedly, causing yourself damage and harm. But it is also understandable. Like sometimes you have situations where you just want to escape, right? And that's what this section for what this reason for drinking is. People just drink to escape like their reality and their everyday life. And if I had too much stimuli, so stress and depression, I did go over a lot, but it is pretty common that if you feel stressed or if you're depressed, you may drink just to feel better. So some short-term and long-term effects. Short-term, I feel like a lot of people already know this. These kind of hit you the time you're drinking, not like right away, but like a little bit, a couple of hours after you drink. So slurred speech, sense of euphoria, feeling relaxed, drowsiness, fluctuations between emotions, vomiting, anterograde amnesia or blackout, and loss of coordination. So I feel like these are pretty common. And I feel like a lot of people who drink know that they will most likely experience some, if not all of these short-term effects. As for some long-term effects, so like high blood pressure, heart disease, stroke, liver disease, I did talk about them when I mentioned the organs earlier, but if you do drink for a long period of time, your heart muscles become weaker, so you're more susceptible to heart diseases and strokes. You have high blood pressure, you have been drinking for a long time. And liver diseases, like I said, if you drink for a long period of time, your liver's eventually not going to be able to regenerate itself from all the cells it's lost due to filtering out alcohol. And so my awareness and creation theory, my AIT journals, I was honestly pretty confused. I kind of still am honestly because I've never journaled before. Uh, a lot of things I did talk about in my journals, I already knew about myself. Like I already had an idea that, like, especially the negative, I tend to be pretty harsh with myself. So I did kind of feel like I knew a lot of the negatives that I was writing down. But regardless, it did kind of help me a little bit, or like in these aspects that I talk about here, like work. It made me appreciate my work environment and relationships. Well, I may not necessarily like working. I do like showing up to work because it means like it's just my work buddies, and it's always like it's fun if I can like have a good time with them while doing the job while like working. It makes it less, I don't know, more tolerable. so less annoying to be at work. With my parents, it allowed me to put into words the way I feel. So, like I said, I did know how I felt about like my relationship with my parents, but journaling was different as it allowed me to write it down. It was the first time I actually wrote it down, and it felt weird, but it was pretty nice because it kind of gave me like a little different perspective as I was reading it as a reader, my own writing, if that makes sense. And finally, money also like it made me want to pursue money more. I just like made me realize that I tend to overlook money a little bit just because like I had money, not like a lot, but like I didn't really waste money either. So like it just kind of stayed there. It didn't go down or up. And now it's like I kind of want to buy something and I want to go out and do something. So I kind of want more money now to be able to do these activities. And my identity mission thing. So I am aware of my shortcomings and I accept them. But I also believe I am a funny person and someone who can get along with others fairly easily. Unfortunately, I am socially awkward with low self-esteem and introverted, making it difficult to socialize with others, causing me to have a very small social circle, which I'm fine with. Like I said, I have a hard time making friends, but that's why I like my job right now because I'm forced to see these people every day, and they kind of like I am forced to socialize with them, and I'm able to make bonds like that. But if I also see people like once or twice a week, it's very hard for me to like start talking with them because I only see them once or twice a week. So it's kind of I find it pointless, or not pointless, but it's just difficult to maintain that connection as opposed to somebody who you work with that you get to see on a weekly basis, more than once a week or twice. So even still, I'm proud of who I am. I'm proud of being my parents' son. I take pride in being a first gen student. I am Hispanic. I made a presentation about alcohol because I grew up with an alcoholic parent. I know the struggles that comes with it, how it affects the relationships near you, and it's just something personal that kind of meant a lot to me. So my SMART goal. So for school, I want to graduate within the next year. I am on track to do that, and I am looking forward to it. But I'm trying to do it because I want to make sure my parents don't feel like their efforts weren't wasted on me. And so I'm just, I'm looking forward to that. I am doing good on my classes. I want to keep that up and just keep what I'm doing up for the next year and hopefully pass and graduate all my classes, right? And, make my parents proud. That's honestly kind of like the biggest thing. My relationships, like I keep talking about my work buddies, and it's because like I guess I was pretty depressed for a long time, and like having work buddies or like new friends I can talk to has been really nice. So I want to increase more. I want to make more friendships outside of work, and like maybe in school too. Even though I don't see people once or twice a week, making it harder, but I do think it's something that will help me. And like I said, work has just been like really, really nice lately, and I wanna continue to have good relationship with my coworkers and my managers. So this is my reference page. You can pause that if you want. Oh, I forgot to take this picture off, but so these are just the effects of the alcohol in the body. But this is my presentation. Thank you for listening. You could, thank you. Have a good day.